Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but I'm back with another tutorial for you all. In this video, I'll be showing you how I turn these oversized jeans into this high-waisted pencil skirt. If you want to see how I achieve this look, please stay tuned. Alright guys, let's get started. I have these oversized jeans here that I'll be using for this skirt. First, I cut the inner seam of the pants open using my seam ripper. Typically there are 2 rows of stitches along the inner seams, so this did take a little time. Here's what I have after removing those stitches. As you can see, I also removed the stitches along the front of the jeans along with the zipper. Next, I remove all the belt loops and completely remove the waistband as well using my seam ripper. I'll go ahead and finish this off camera. Here I have the jeans and the waistband separated along with the belt loops. Those will be reattached later, so I'll set those aside for now. I placed the jeans right sides facing in, lining the side seams and the front edges together. Grab my measuring tape and line it where the top meets the bottom to create a straight edge in the front. I use a ruler to help trace that straight line. Here I attempted to sketch the bottom half of the body to show you what measurements I used. I measure around my waist and divided that measurement by 2. From that point I measured down 10 inches. Then I measure around the widest part of my hip and divide that by 2. Then again I measure 10 inches from that point and measure around the widest part of my legs and divide that by 2. Now I have all 3 measurements that I'll be using for the skirt. The waist at 14 inches, the hips at 19 inches, and the bottom at 15 inches. I use those measurements starting from the straight edge along the front. At the very top, I measure across 14 inches and mark at that point. From there, I measure down 10 inches and mark at that point. From that point, I measure across 19 inches starting from the straight edge on the right and mark at that point. Again, from that point, I measure down 10 inches and measure across 15 inches starting from the straight edge on the right. Now, I do want to mention that I did make a bit of a mistake. The last measurement ended up being a bit too tight around the thighs. Luckily, I was able to make room with the extra seam allowance I gave myself. I suggest to give yourself a couple more inches or just take that measurement all the way to the other side of the edge of the pant, and then you can take in and adjust if you need at the end. Now I take my curved ruler that's been through some things and connect those points. I had to use my straight ruler for some help. The struggle was real, y'all, so I continued to trace as best as I could all the way down to the 3rd point. Just like I mentioned before, give yourself a few more inches if you can. This is where I should have traced instead. Here's the new zipper that I'll be using. It's about 18 to 20 inches long. My zipper won't be this long, but it was the only length in this style that I could find. Next, I take the waistband and cut the buttonhole off so I can open it up. I place it along the waistline a ½ inch in. Starting at the top of the waistband, I place the top of the zipper stop at that point, down along the straight edge. This gives me an idea of how long I want my zipper to be. I decide on 10 inches and mark at that point. I sew a base stitch from the top of the waistline to that point. You can just leave this part open if you want. Then I sew a regular stitch from that point all the way down to the end of the skirt. On the other side, I sew a straight edge along the curve and down to the end of the skirt. When that's done, I cut off the excess fabric, making sure to leave a ½ inch seam allowance along the stitch. I go ahead and unstitch the base stitch for the zipper. I fold and press a ½ inch seam allowance on both sides of the opening for the zipper. Then I turn the skirt right side out and give it a quick press in the front. At this point, I tried the skirt on to see if I need to make any adjustments, and I ended up taking in 1 inch from both sides at the waist. I used my curve ruler to line that point onto the side seam on both sides, then sew a straight stitch along that curve. Then I cut the excess fabric off. I also want to mention that I made adjustments along the curve in the back and took in about a ½ inch. I made adjustments around the thighs and let out about 1 inch as well. After all adjustments have been made, I grab my waistband. At one end, I fold in a ½ inch and line it along the edge of the zipper opening about a ½ inch down from the top of the waistline and pin in place. I continue to pin just the front of the waistband around the waistline along the top of the skirt. When I get to the other end, I cut off the excess waistband a ½ inch away from the edge of the zipper opening. Then I fold a ½ inch in and line it with the edge of the zipper opening and pin that in place. Next, I sew about 1 inch in along the front side of the bottom edge of the waistband on both sides. After those ends are attached, I grab my zipper and line the top stop of the zipper beside the center of the waistband, right underneath the zipper teeth, and pin in place. I continue pinning the edge of the zipper opening under the zipper teeth all the way down to the end of the zipper opening. Before I start pinning the other side, I make sure the ends of the waistband are lined together. Then I pin in place along the other side. I sew around the edge of the opening with a straight stitch. Here is the zipper fully attached and the waistband lines together perfectly. To finish the waistband, I fold the other half to the back. At the end of the waistband, on the other side, I continue to fold a 1/2 inch and make sure to pin underneath the zipper teeth in place. Then I sew along the bottom edge of the waistband with a straight stitch. Here's the waistband after being fully attached. When that's done, I turn the skirt inside out and cut off the excess zipper that I don't need. To finish off the front opening at the bottom, I remove all the thread left behind from the seam ripping. I also add an overlock stitch to the raw ends to prevent shedding and hem along the edges with a straight stitch. Here I've added a couple of the belt loops to the front, and I'll show you how I added them to the back. I grab a belt loop, and at the bottom end I fold in twice. To hold the fold in place, I grab my prepared needle and thread and sew through the edges a few times on both sides. Then I pull the needle through the bottom edge. As you can see, the previous placing for the belt loop is imprinted on the jeans, so I just use that mark for the placing of the belt loop. Then I just hand stitch along the bottom and top edge of the belt loop onto the jeans and the waistband. That's how I attach the belt loop, and I'll do the same for the other side. Here are the belt loops fully attached. And I also decided to shorten the skirt a little below the knee. I finished that off with the hem as well. And now the skirt is complete. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when there's a new upload. See you guys in the next one. Bye.